Good afternoon. Our class today is going to be uh, about the unit 2 of your paper, and it is in this unit we are going to talk about the various cities which had been there in Delhi, or the various cities of Delhi at various junctures in history. We are aware of the history of Delhi from the early medieval time period, and we are going to continue talking about the same. Delhi as a city has been populated. It has emerged as a capital city of various rulers, especially the rulers of the Delhi Sultanate, and there were various, cities within the present day Delhi which came up, and these cities were many a times abandoned after the ruler who established that capital city. The rule of that ruler came to an end, so these cities would be abandoned, and the newer cities would be established when the new rulers of are going to establish their rule in Delhi. So we are going to talk about these seven cities of Delhi, as they are frequently called. Uh, in the last class, we have spoken about these two important cities of early medieval Delhi, for which we find the archaeological evidence. There are inscriptional evidence for which we find about the Lal Court and the Kila Rai Pithoda, the capital of Delhi. The capital of the Tomars and that of the Chauhans. And so today we are going to continue with the same story. Just give me one brief moment and then we'll continue. Okay, so I'm so sorry for that. Uh, so we are going to continue to some extent with the same story, and we are going to talk about in today's class about the various other cities of Delhi which were established at different points of time in history. Beginning with one of the earliest, the cities of Delhi, at least in mythology, Delhi is believed to be the Indraprastha of the Mahabharata, the capital of the Kurus in Mahabharata. Delhi is believed to be that place which is the capital of the Kurus, the Indraprastha, which is mentioned in the Mahabharata. So it right from there, the beginning of this. Somewhat, the beginning in somewhat the mythological texts to the actual evidence, historical evidence, archaeological evidence of the cities that we have found, the gray, right from the uh, right from the architectural remains of the first city, which is the Lal Kot and the Killer Rai Pithoda, to the later times, reaching right up till the Shahjahanabad by the Mughals, and after that the New Delhi New Delhi, which is also known as the Lutyens Delhi of the British in Delhi. So Delhi has had this long history. Many different cities had come here. They have saw their decline with the emergence of a new dynasty. So as I said that the origin of Delhi is lost in remote antiquity. Delhi is not the oldest name. One of the earliest name of the cities was, as I said, was Indraprastha, as we have as the city which is being described in Mahabharata. It seems to be the same as that of Delhi. The Purana Killa, which is there in Delhi, is believed to be the place which is the Indraprastha of the Mahabharata. Now, Delhi as a historical city, and after the name Indraprastha or Indrapras, there is no clear-cut evidence of any archaeological remains which is being, nothing being found from Delhi till we reach the time period of the Lal Court. And this is a capital which is established by the Tomars in the middle of the 11th century, around somewhere around 1060 AD. And initially, the settlement of the Tomars was at this um, Anandpur, which is in present day near Suraj Kund. And after that, they raised a citadel at Lalkot in 1060 AD. And it was around the place where this is the same place where the Qutub mosque is going to come a couple of centuries later. So that is the first archaeological evidence that we get for the city of Delhi. However, the name Dhilli, or the phonetically similar names of Delhi, Dilli, Dhilli, is not traceable to the period of the Lal Code. That at that time, Delhi was not called as Dhilli or Dhilika or Dilli or Delhi. These are much later names which are given to the city of Delhi. The earliest epigraphic reference to Dhelika from which the word Delhi is derived is found in one of the inscriptions which we have found from Rajasthan, in which it is mentioned that there is a Chahamahana ruler who has captured Dhelika, and this Chahamahana ruler is identified with Vigraha Raj IV of the Chauhans. So there was this ruler Vigraha Raj IV of the Chauhans who ruled over Delhi, and that is the first time this term, which is Dhilika, which is used, and it is being said that Dhilika is there in the Haryana region. And there are also subsequent inscriptions which were found in 1276, 1316, and 1328, which mentioned Delhi as part of the Haryana or Haritana or Haryana, the present day state of Haryana that we have. These are the precursors to that name: Haryanaka, Haritarana, and Haryana. So these were the various names which were given to this region of Haryana at that time, and it was said that Dhilli or Dhilika is a part of this place. Similarly, there was a poet called Mool Daud who mentions, that Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the Sultan of Delhi, suggests that Dhilli continued to be used in inscriptions as well as in the vernacular language. So, when people who were living in this region, when they would talk, during the Sultanate period also, these are the names of this city which people are going to use the names like Dhilli, Dilli, or Delhi. After talking about so let's first briefly talk about the Kila Rai Pithoda of the Chauhans. Now, the oldest city of Delhi, of which we have the archaeological remains which remain till date, are the Rai Pithoda, which was later known as the Kila Rai Pithoda. The Chauhan ruler the Chauhan ruler Vigraha Raj IV captured Dhilika from the Tomars. So after capturing this is when the power moved from Tomars to the Chauhans. Vigraha Raj IV captured the power, and the power moved from from Tomars to the Chauhans, and ultimately after 1191 and 1192, the two Battle of the Rains, the power is going to go to the Mamluks. But while the power was with the Chauhan rulers, it was the grandson of Vigraha Raj IV, and his name was Prithvi Raj. So Prithvi Raj Chauhan, you may be aware, you may have heard this name, Prithvi Raj Chauhan. It was Prithvi Raj Chauhan who, built this fort known as Kila Rai Pithoda. Now, the walls of this city can still be found around Qutub Minar, and this is the fort of this Kila Rai Pithoda. Kila is the term which we used even now in Hindi for fort. So this is the same Kila Rai Pithoda which is occupied by Qutubuddin Aibak in 1192 after Prithvi Raj's defeat, which is also being captured in Prithviraj Raso, a literary composition. So, and after the end of the Chauhan rule, this is the time when the Turkish conquest of this of Delhi happens, and that brings a complete transformation in the culture of Delhi, in the architecture of this place. This is and after this would be the first time when the mosques would be set up, would be built in Delhi. So a huge transformation comes in the architecture of Delhi, in the life of Delhi, after the capital is being taken away from the Chauhans by the Gorian Turkish rulers. Now, the ramparts of this Kila Rai Pithoda were, they were pierced with 13 gates. There were 13 gates to this Kila Rai Pithoda which was being constructed by the Chauhans. The principal entrance to this was known as the Badaun Gate. Now, an inscription under the arch of the eastern, entrance to this, to the Masjid Jami, which was constructed, reads that the fortress was conquered and this mosque was built during the months of 587 AH of the Hijri calendar by the great and the mighty commander-in-chief Qutbud Dawat Wauddin. And so this mosque, so basically what is being said is that, we have been able to conquer this this fort, and a mosque has been constructed here, and this mosque is known as the Masjid-e-Jami. And and it is also said that the idols from various idols from a number of Buth Khanas, that is how the temples were called at that by them. So various idols have been brought from various places, and they have been brought here. Now, with the foundation of Masjid-e-Jami, the mosque, which is also, we are also known this place as the Qutub Mosque or Quwwatul Islam Mosque, the establisher of Islam in North India, near the Qutub Minar, and also a new fort around it, which is known as Hisar-e-Nau. Close to the north of the mosque, this Hisar-e-Nau is close to the mosque. Delhi got this central and imperial status because it is here that the capital of the sultans, of the Mamluk sultans, is established. They construct this Quwwatul Islam Mosque, they construct the Qutub Minar, and this is where the culture of the earliest Islamic culture develops. And there is a historian, M. Athar Ali, and he says that it is this Delhi which became the nucleus of Delhi, which was succeeded, and there was a subsequent ruler called Iltutmish who ruled over Delhi. And it is at this time that Delhi is, people begin to call Delhi as the Dihli Kuhwa, Delhi Kuhna, and this becomes the old Delhi. This is the Delhi which is primarily around the Mehroli region, was the first old Delhi, and this is also in that sense the first city of Delhi which has lived through times. There is almost a continuous history of Delhi, of this region. So at this Delhi was also known as just by the name Sheher. So it was known as Qutb Delhi, it was known as Old Delhi, it was known as Dihli, and it was also known as Sheher. So 200 years back, 300 years back, 500 years back, if somebody said that we are going to Sheher, what they actually meant was that we are going to this region of, the Qutb complex that we have near Mehroli. There is a work, historical work known as Tariq-e-Ilahi. Tariq is the term which is used for history in Arabic and Persian language. So Tariq-e-Ilahi is the work by Amir Khusro, and Amir Khusro tells us in this work that Sultan Alauddin Khilji resolved to make a pair of lofty minars which are of the Jami Masjid, the masjid which was set up there, and he aspired to make minars which were much higher than that as compared to the Qutub Minar, and not just higher in height but also which had a much broader circumference. But obviously this did not really happen. And after this, Delhi, which was set up by the Mamluks near the Qutub complex, where the mosque is established, the Qutub Minar is established. there is an increase in the population of Delhi, and also there was this greater problem of water scarcity. Because if we look at the region, of both Lal Kot and Kila Rai Pithoda and Qutub Minar and surrounding areas, now all these regions are the region of the Aravali Hills, the Aravali ranges, and so this entire range of JNU and Sanjeevan and Mehroli, etc., are the area is the Aravali ranges, and there is a water scarcity in this region. And this part of Delhi is very, very far away from Yamuna. So there is that availability of water from the river is not there in this case. And at this time, when there was a growth of population, growth in the population size, we see that there is a development of this township known as Ghayaspur, which was near the banks of Yamuna. That is where the Sufi saint, the most revered Sufi saint, the Chishti Sufi saint, Nizamuddin Aulia, is going to set up his, base is going to be there. And now, if any one of you is familiar with the Nizamuddin Dargah, it is very, very far away from the river Yamuna. But at that time, the river Yamuna used to flow very close to this place, and that is where he established his base. So the first suburb of that Delhi, if we consider Qutub Minar and the other complex, the mosque in that region as the Sheher, and if that is where the traders are there, and if that is where the ruling dynasty is, and everybody is there, then the first suburb is a region which develops outside, or near the main towns. People who can't afford to buy land or buy property and live in the cities usually go and settle in the suburbs. So it is here that the first suburb of is established in Ghiaspur, and this is probably during the time period of Ghiasuddin Balban. Now Balban is ruling, is there in the later half of the 13th century is when Balban comes to power. And roughly around the same time is when the suburb of Ghiaspur is being established uh, near the Yamuna River, where Nizamuddin Chishti is going to establish his Jama'at Khana, and his base is going to be there. Now, between we move on to the next, city of Delhi known as Kilokhari, or the Sheher-e-Nau. This Kilokhari, you may have heard the term, the name of this place called Kilokhari. It is still there. The name is still there, and it is the name which is used for the region, which is the present day region of Ashram. And when if you are going through the ring road, if you're going towards D&D flyover, that is the region which is called as Kilokhari. So this then it is the establishment of this part of so as the population was increasing, there was this growth of suburb. People were moving, and they were moving to the region which was more closer to the river, so that the water availability increased. And it was between this settlement of Ghiaspur and the Yamuna that the Sultan Muizzuddin Kekubad built a walled kasr, which is a fort, a walled kasr named as Kilokhari. Now this palace was, there was the river in front of this palace, and under the next ruler known as Sultan Jalaluddin Khilji, who ruled from 1290 to 96, a new city was established known as Sheher-e-Nau. So Kilokhari and Sheher-e-Nau developed around this palace. And there is a contemporary historian whose name is Ziauddin Barni, and he remarks, Ziauddin Barni is saying this about Kilokhari. Sultan Jalaluddin Khalji ordered his nobles and commanders as great men of the city to build the houses of Kilokhari and erect high edifices and bring certain merchants from the city, that is the old Sheher. So the Sheher for them is still the region of the Qutub Minar and the Quwwatul Islam Mosque, which is there in the near the Qutub area. So what Ziauddin Barni is saying is that it is being said that the merchants from that region of Sheher should come and establish their base here. They should also come and start their trading establishments in this region, and this is where large markets were established in the Kilokri region. Okay, I forgot to mention one thing. If there are any questions, there is a Q&A section on your dashboard. You may ask the questions there. Uh, okay, I see that a number of you have already asked questions. But I am giving a lot of details like the names of historians, Ziauddin Barni, and the dates in which the capitals are being established and who are the people who are establishing. So please try and take the notes while during the lecture itself. Okay, so I shall share the number of there is a WhatsApp group. I shall share the number of the person who runs that WhatsApp group, and you can message that person. You will be added to that WhatsApp group. Okay. Now talking about, continuing with this after Kilokari, what happens? It was during this period of, when 1290s is when a number of Mongol invasions started, and there was this uh, the Mongols who were attacking the various parts of North India. This is where the nomadic empire of Genghis Khan is increasing in various parts of Central Asia. It is at this time that the city is extended in various dimensions. But in order to protect Delhi from the Mongols, the Sultan Alauddin Khilji, he fortified a camp at Siri in 1299. You may have heard the name of Siri Fort Auditorium in Delhi. It is near where this place called Shahpur Jat. There is a village called Shahpur Jat in South Delhi, and there is a Shri Fort Auditorium very close to that place. And if you go around that area, if you walk around in that area, there are these remnants of a wall that you found there, that you find there, and this is the capital which was built by Sir Alauddin Khilji. And it is basically built because there is a new ruler who is establishing the capital, and also because of this there is this greater fear of Mongols attacking India. Now, as the sources point out, Siri was a plain waste ground, which it was a waste ground because the Sheher was there in the Mehroli region, and Ghiaspur was much farther away, Kilokari was much farther away. So there was nothing much which was going on in the Siri region. It was a waste ground, and there were hardly any people who were living there. One may point out here that the local memory, about the location of this of such an important. So this place was built as a military encampment. So it is the Lashkar which is established here. So the military is housed in this region, and the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, Alexander Cunningham, he remarked, he identified this place with a vast area enclosed.
Trouble connecting to the network. Please try again a bit later.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is where Alauddin Khilji establishes his capital called as Siri, and in present-day region close to Shahpur Jat and Sri Fort Auditorium, that is where this city is established. Now, initially this settlement of Siri was called a Lashkar, as I just said, and Lashkar Gad, which is basically a place where the army is housed, while the Qutb Delhi, the old Delhi, was the Sheher. So Sheher was the Qutb Delhi, the Quwwatul Islam Mosque Delhi. That is where the marketplace is, and there are these suburbs which have also developed by this time, suburbs like Ghiaspur, and also this newer settlements called as known as Kilokari and Shehere now. But this region was known as the Lashkar, and later on it was this Lashkar Gah, which was situated in Siri, which was known as Darul Khalifa. Yazdi is an important 14th century historian, and he has described this location of Siri in his Zafarnama. And he says that this city of Siri lies towards the northwest of Jahapana. Now, you may have heard, those of you who are familiar with Delhi, you may have heard the name called Jahapana also. Jahapana is this range of walls. We are going to talk about Jahapana very, very soon. And it is this huge wall which was constructed, which kind of, wanted to take into its ambit all the previous cities of Delhi, which had been there by that till that time. So Jahapana is going to, if you are familiar with the old BRT road opposite, Sheikh Sarai Part 2, that is where the Jahapana city forest is. And there is a Satpura dam, which was, now opposite the Saket district court, which this was a dam which was also a part of this Jahapana settlement. Um, okay, so I'll come to Japana in a while. So Yazdi is saying in his Zafarnama that the city is located towards the northwest of Japana, while Qutb Delhi or Delhi-e Kuhna, as it was called, is located towards the southwest. So Jahapana is basically in the center, and towards the northwest of Jahapana is where the city is, and towards the southwest is where the Qutb Minar and Qutb Delhi or Dihli Kuhna is. And according to him, there is this enclosed space. Siri has this circular fort, and this is something which Temur also mentions. Temur also writes in his memoirs that Siri is a round city, so it is circular. And this is something which Yazdi is also writing. And the buildings are lofty, and there are surrounding fortifications built of huge stones. They are built of bricks, and they are very, very strong. This is what Temur is writing. This fact is, broadly correct to the extent that, as the historian Atar Ali also point out, that this capital city of Siri was not rectangular as compared to the other cities of Delhi, which were, the Qutb Delhi or other Delhis, which were rectangular in space. This Delhi, which was the Siri established by Alauddin Khilji in the end of the 1299, end of the 13th century, is circular. Alauddin Khilji and his successor Qutb Mubarak, lived in the palace of Hazar Sutun, which was built by Alauddin Khilji. Outside the Siri fortress, there was this palace which was built by Alauddin Khilji. And city is the fortress of Siri is also mentioned by this traveler called Ibn Battuta, who comes to India during the time period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He is also the Qazi of the region of this particular region. He is appointed as the Qazi of Delhi by Muhammad bin Tughlaq because he is extremely well read, etc. And that is now is when we come to Tughlaqabad, because by now Tughlaqs had come to Delhi, and there is an increase in the population of Delhi. When I say Delhi, I'm talking about the Sheher, about the Qutb region, and also there is an increasing population of the city, which was primarily the cause for Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq to set up a different city known as Tughlaqabad between the year 1321 to 1323. So, by the time Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq comes to power, there are Delhi has already seen all these cities. It has seen Lal Kot, it has seen Kila Rai Pithoda, it has seen the Quwwatul Islam Mosque, it has seen the Qutub Minar, etc. That Sheher, the old Delhi, and it has also seen the Kilokhari. It has also seen Ghiaspur, the coming up of this suburb Ghiaspur, and also seen the development of Siri, the capital city of Alauddin Khilji. Now, between 1321 to 1323 is when the setting up of Tughlaqabad happens. It was situated, towards the south of Delhi, and you guys, some of you may have seen there is this huge structure. If you're coming from Badarpur to Mehroli, you cross these huge structures, midway after you cross maybe 7 to 8 kilometers after Badarpur, you come across these huge structures, which are of which only remnants, we find very dilapidated remains of this city. It is huge in size, and it stands alone. It is very very solid. It is very very massive, and it kind of gives an awe of of impressive grandness which one feels, that the people who would have constructed, maybe that is the kind of image that they wanted to uh, send out to the people, or maybe it was important with respect to, as far as the question of security is concerned. It was a very important move for them to build such huge fortress walls. Unfortunately, the fort is now in a very, very bad condition, and it is difficult to reconstruct what the original plan of this city of Tughlaqabad was. There's only one fortress wall which survives, and there is only one with a huge gate. This is all that has survived of this huge settlement known as Tughlaqabad. And it was very, very huge, and there are contemporary historians who have written about how huge this entire fort is, and how grand the stones are, the towers are, and how each boulder which is used for the construction is very big in size, and how probably they would have got it here is a mystery in itself. The next city of Delhi, which is important, I'm sorry I'm rushing, because there are a number of things to be covered, and I want to do each one of them. Uh, the next city of Delhi, which is established, is known as Jahanpana, which I mentioned a little while ago. And this city of Delhi was set up by Muhammad Tughlaq. He not only constructed, another fortress known as Adilabad in the vicinity of Tughlaqabad. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq construct this another fortress called Adilabad near Tughlaqabad. He also planned an immense length of fortification, so that the entire region, between Qutub Delhi and Siri, may become a part of this Jahapana. So he wanted the fort walls to be so big that the entire region between Siri and between the Qutb Delhi comes into the domain of this new fortress, new capital, which he was aspiring to build. And this enclosure was given the name Jahapana. He also planned to, envelop the Tughlaqabad fort within this Jahapana only, that, this Jahapana is going to be so huge that it is going to include the Tughlaqabad fort within it. And Ibn Battuta, who came to India, who was a Moroccan traveler who comes to India at this time, and as I said, that he is appointed as the Qazi of Delhi by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He says that the ruler even planned to bring old Delhi, that is the Qutub Minar, the Siri, Jahapana, and the Tughlaqabad within one fortification itself. So Ibn Battuta is saying that his ruler, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, wanted to include all the previous, the major previous cities of Delhi in one fort itself. And he says it was Muhammad Shah's intention to connect all these four cities together by one and the same wall, that he wanted to connect all these cities by one and the same wall. He has raised a portion of it, but abandoned its completion in consequence of the enormous expense that this erection would have if he would have erected this entire wall, which included all these cities of Delhi, this would have been an extremely expensive affair as far as the construction activity was concerned. And Ibn Battuta says that this is the reason why Muhammad bin Tughlaq abandoned this plan. Uh, Muhammad Tughlaq, however, linked the old Delhi, which is the Qutub Delhi, Siri, and Jahapana, which was a settlement of enormous size as compared to Old Delhi. Now, Old Delhi was smaller, Siri was also smaller, Siri was circular and it was small. But they were connected by Muhammad Tughlaq. And Yazdi, the same historian that we have spoken about a little while ago, the 14th century historian, he says that the walls of Jahapana had had 6 gates leading out to the northwest, 7 to the south, 3 to Siri. So there are these number of gates which Yazdi tells us to give us an impression of how huge this settlement of Jahapana is. For providing the water, the supply, a reservoir was constructed, which is in the present day, region of Khirki village. There is this village called the Khirki village and Khirki extension in the Malvinagar area of South Delhi. And this reservoir was known as the Satpula reservoir. And Delhi by this time had reached such an enormous size in by the time Muhammad Tughlaq is ruling, that Ibn Battuta, he says the following lines about Delhi. He says, its walls are such as to have no equal in the whole world. That the walls of this Delhi are so huge that there would be no equal of these in the entire world. This is the greatest city of Hindustan, and indeed the greatest Islamic city in the East. So he is the immense, the expanse of Delhi is so huge that Ibn Battuta, who has traveled extensively, he's coming all the way from Morocco, he's coming from Africa, northwestern coast of northern part of Africa, Morocco, and he has traveled all these regions. He has been to Mecca, Medina, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, and traveled all, in Africa and other places also. He is coming to Delhi and he's made the Qazi of Delhi. And he is the one who is saying that the walls of these cities of Delhi are so huge, and he's talking about Jahapana, that they seem to be the greatest of all the walls. The city Delhi is so huge that it seems to be the greatest city, not just of Hindustan, but of the Islamic East. Wherever there are Islamic rulers in the East, Delhi seems to be the most important and the biggest city of that region. He says that Delhi consists of 4 cities which which are becoming contiguous, and they have formed one. So it is not just one city; it is 4 cities which have become one. And he's talking about how there is a large mosque, and the beauty there is no other city which has a beauty which is as beautiful as Delhi is. The buildings of Delhi, there are no other buildings in other parts of India and other parts of Islamic Eastern world whose buildings can be compared to uh, the buildings and structures of Delhi. The next Delhi which is established is by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Now, Firoz Shah Tughlaq is the Delhi which he established is known as Firozabad. Firozabad is a very, very important, city which he establishes much ahead. He goes much north. Right now, all the cities of Delhi that we had been talking about, whether it is the Qutb Delhi, which is also known as Sheher, or the Siri, or the Tughlaqabad, or the Kilokhari, or all these regions that we have spoken about are mostly the the southern part of Delhi, present day, southern part of present day Delhi, or the southwestern part of present day Delhi. It is the time period of Firoz Shah that Delhi is moved much towards north, to very close to the river Yamuna. Now, this shift, is a shift from a rocky terrain to a terrain which has a much better soil, It has alluvial soil. It is a plain region as compared to the region of JNU and Mehroli and Tughlaqabad, etc., which has, which is a hilly region, which is the Aravali region. This particular belt of Delhi, where the Firozabad is established, that is where your cricket stadium is, Firoz Shah Kotla Cricket Stadium, opposite Maulana Azad Medical College, near ITO. So that is where this new city is going to be established by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. And this is very close to now. The river Yamuna has gone much, is much ahead now. It doesn't flow where Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium is, but there was at a point of time wherein the river Yamuna used to flow right next to this place. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq, he's the person who is going to get two Ashokan pillars from Topra near Ambala, and he's going to establish them there. One in his capital, Firozabad, and the other one is he's going to establish in the Ridge region. So he is going to not just construct this part of Delhi, which is known as Firozabad. He's also going to recollect, important historical artifacts and bring them to Delhi. Now, while he was doing it, it is said that he took utmost care not to destroy what this Ashokan pillar, which he was moving to Delhi, and the emblem of this pillar, was destroyed in this transportation, and it is felt that the rock pillar, the Ashokan pillar, was brought to Delhi through the river channel, because river Yamuna was very close to where this capital city is established. But this pillar was, padded in a number of silk and fine cloth, so that there is no harm or no damage which is done to this pillar. And despite that, the emblem of this pillar was broken, and it still remains broken. So this was brought in from Ambala, and they could not, at that time, they could not read the inscriptions which were inscribed on this pillar. The inscriptions were in the Brahmi script. It was in the Prakrit language, and it was in the Brahmi script. And the Firoz Shah Tughlaq's, contemporaries and people at that time could not really read the inscriptions which were inscribed on this pillar, but still they took utmost care of not to destroy this pillar, and to be able to establish it and set it there with utmost care. Firoz Shah, wanted a very, very large city, and this city is spread in a very big. The region where it was spread was very, very big, and the time period when this was established was around 1358 is when this city of Delhi is established, and this is very close to your, what seems to the where is this Firozabad established? So if you're going from, if the present day Ridge region where Delhi University is, so there is this Ridge region there. So from between the Ridge and the Purana Killa is where the Firozabad was established, and it is a huge area, and the population of Delhi had increased multiple fold, and they were able to. And this is the region wherein the population, this is the region which is inhabited by the population at that time. The fort of this of the city of Firozabad, the fort known as the Kotla, that is why the name Kotla, Firoz Shah Kotla, was built around 1350s and 1370s. And it was, it had Yamuna on one side, and there were lofty ruins of which, are seen. Ashokan pillar is also known as, Ashokan pillar is also found, as I just said, that Firoz Shah Tughlaq, got this Ashokan pillar, re-established two stone pillars of Ashoka. He removed them from Topra, which is a place near Ambala in Haryana, and he is the one who fixed them there. And one he fixes it, one he plants it in his capital of Firozabad, and the other one is planted near the ridge region where this Bada Hindu Rao temple is, Hindu Rao hospital is, and that particular pillar is known as Kaushike Shikhar. Kaushike Shikhar is what it is called. Now, this palace which he constructed, Firoz Shah constructed, was known as Jahanuma. Jahanuma, the term Jahanuma was known as the world displayer. The meaning of the term Jahanuma is display, world displayer, something which you use to display to the entire world. Uh, Now, the most notable building in the Firozabad is the picturesque mosque, which was known as the Chausat Khamba. So there is a mosque which has 64 pillars, and this is a very, very important mosque of the time period known as Chausat Khamba. There is also Kalan Masjid, which is situated, in this part of the city, and this is very close to where later Shah Jahanabad is going to be established by the Mughal ruler Shah Jahan. Um, Historian Atar Ali, he remarks about Firoz Shah's Delhi. He says that Firoz Shah shifted Delhi to a more suitable terrain. I mean, because it was earlier located in the hilly areas of the Aravalis, and Atar Ali says that Firoz Shah moved Delhi to a more suitable area, suitable terrain, suitable soil, and the area which was adjoining the Yamuna as compared to the Aravali ridge. And Sher Shah Delhi also, Sher Shah Delhi and the Salimgarh fort, which is there right behind the Red Fort, and Humayun's tomb, which is also which is opposite which is very close to where your Nizamuddin Dargah is, and Shahjahanabad, this entire region, and even later New Delhi. So after this, all the Delhis that you see after Firozabad, and then Salimgarh Fort, and then Sher Shah's Delhi, and then New Delhi and Shahjahanabad, all these Delhis which come up later after Firozabad are located in the alluvial zone. They are, in a zone where the soil is much more fertile, and in the geographical sense also, and also in the historical sense, Firozabad was to set this zeal of the decline of Delhi of the Sultanate period and the rise of this new Delhi. So it is now this Delhi of the Sultanate period, which is the Siri region, the Sheher region, the Tughlaqabad region, the Adilabad region. All these Delhis are going to decline, and it is this new part of Delhi which is going to rise after this. So now the extension of Delhi which happens in the northern region and the northeastern region towards the Yamuna River, as compared to previously, where the Delhi was being established. Another important city of Delhi was the city of Delhi, established by Sher Shah. Now, the Sher Shah rules. Sher Shah is somebody who is able to remove Humayun. The Mughal dynasty was established in India in 1526 by Babur. Babur died 4 years after coming to power, and it was his son who was ruling from 1530 to 1539, and that is when Sher Shah attacks Delhi, and he's able to remove Humayun from power, and Humayun goes and stays takes refuge in the Safavid court in Iran. So Humayun goes to Iran, and for the next 15 years, from 1540 from 40 to almost 1555 is when there is the rule of Sher Shah in India. And Sher Shah builds his own capital, and this capital is constructed between the city which was founded by Humayun. There was a city which was founded by Humayun, which was known as Deen Panha, and Firozabad. So the city Deen Panha is the region where close to the Nizamuddin Dargah, and Firozabad, which is present day Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium. So between this is where Sher Shah establishes his new capital. So this is roughly the same area as Purana Killa. So he establishes a capital at the new city of Delhi again comes during the time period of Sher Shah in the Purana Killa area. And the most striking feature of this structure, which Sher Shah establishes, is the north gate of the city, which is known as the Lal Darwaza. So all those of you who have been to Purana Killa would have seen this huge structure known as the Lal Darwaza, which was a testimony to the ambitious, layout of the city which Sher Shah wanted to build. There is also another gate towards the south. There is a gate which southwest corner of Purana Killa. So there were various gates, and there was one gate which opened towards the Royal Bazaar, where the under the citadel known as the Purana Killa. So that is the region where Sher Shah is constructing his new capital. Now, Purana Killa is also the same site which is associated with the Indraprasth with which we began our today's class, and it is in a way parts of it are reconstructed by there are things which Humayun starts constructing at the same site, and there these constructions are completed by Sher Shah because the time period of Humayun is interrupted by this invasion of Sher Shah who comes to power. So these constructions are completed by Sher Shah. There are two significant buildings within this fort which are important. One is a mosque, and the other is the Sher Mahal. The mosque is architecturally very, very important. It represents a style which forms the connecting link between the various styles of the Delhi Sultans and the Mughal rulers, which were to construct the buildings later. So this mosque, which is constructed during the time period of Sher Shah, connects the previous architectural structures of mosque, how the mosques were constructed during the time period of the Delhi Sultans, and how they will be constructed during the time period of the Mughals. So this time period of Sher Shah, the mosque constructed during the time period of Sher Shah, almost gives us a link between these two. Now, instead of being sloping buttressed walls and very flat domes as they used to be, there are these sterny, gloomy looks that characterized the structures of this late 14th century. The mosques that these structures which were very plain and flat of the late 14th century, the mosques which were built during the time period of Sher Shah was can be distinguished by profusion, by the richness of their color, and by the great splendor with which they are constructed. So and then there is this transition to the Mughal architecture, which is huge. And the next capital of Delhi, which is constructed, by the Shah Jahan. He is the one who commences the construction of Shahjahanabad. That is your present day region of what we now call as Old Delhi. So the original Old Delhi is the Qutub Minar region, the Sheher region, but now what we call as Old Delhi is the Shahjahanabad of Shah Jahan. He commenced the construction of the city in 1628 is when he commenced. His daughter Jahanahara, who was a very talented woman, she had designed the marketplaces of the Chandni Chowk that is there, is designed by Jahanara, and so the Jama Masjid is constructed, the marketplace is constructed, the houses for the nobility, the aristocracy is constructed, and the Red Fort is constructed, and within Red Fort there are these various structures which are constructed. In Red Fort there's a lot of work which is done by this historian known as Eba Koch, who has worked on Mughal architecture. And she talks about how the grandeur of Mughal architecture was supposed to give an impression of Mughals being the ultimate ruler, that they have been, they come right next to God, that they have been given the power to rule by God himself. So And after this Shah Jahanabad, there is with the power continues to be with the Mughals till 1857, after which the Mughal emperor is removed from throne, and because of his participation and involvement in the revolt of 1857, and then the capital is of British India's move is basically Calcutta till it is again in 1911, it is decided by the British that they're going to move the capital to Delhi, and that is when the construction of New Delhi starts. So all these structures of India Gate and Rashtrapati Bhavan and Parliament Street and Viceregal Lodge and whatever, all these structures were constructed after it was, Delhi was declared the capital in 1911, constructed by Lutyens and Bakers, the two contractors, the two people, the chief architects who, not the contractors, the two architects who designed this entire region of New Delhi. And then, post independence, Delhi, what we know Delhi as today, what we know today as Delhi is basically amalgamation of all these various Delhis. Tughlaqabad, which was Delhi at one time, that is also Delhi. Sheher, which was the Qutub, Delhi, that is also a part of Delhi. The Siri is also part of Delhi. Purana Kila is also part of Delhi. The Ridge region is also part of Delhi. Shah Jahanabad is also part of Delhi, and New Delhi is also part of Delhi. So all these regions or these different cities have been put together and made into Delhi. I think I'll stop here. If you have any questions, you can bring them up in the Q&A box. Otherwise, I'm done with the class. We shall meet in the next class and we shall continue with the same topic. Okay, there is SOL material which is available in the SOL website, and the title of the paper is Delhi Through the Ages. It is available. So please log into SOL website. And what I have done today has been covered in the SOL material itself. What we have done in the previous classes, especially the class on Lal Kot and Kira Rai Pithoda, that you can find in the book by the historian Upinder Kaur. She has Upinder Singh. She has written a book on Delhi. The book itself is called as Ancient Delhi, but I don't think you need to. I mean, if you are interested, you can definitely look it up further. But SOL material is adequate for studying this course. But definitely, if you're interested, you may pick up Upinder Kaur for the previous classes, previous class that we have had. And as we go forward, each class, I can maybe suggest you names of different books and articles which you may want to read. As when we talk about medieval Delhi in the next few classes, you can look up the work of Professor Sunil Kumar. He was the head of the Department of History till very, very recently. He has just passed away a couple of days back. We have lost a very, very important historian of medieval Delhi. So he has extensively, worked. He has this book, "The Past Through the Eyes of the Present," "The Present Through the Eyes of the Past," and another book on Delhi. So you can look up the work of Professor Sunil Kumar. Other books and articles I'll keep mentioning in the next few classes. Jahanpana was this city which Muhammad bin Tughlaq aspired to build, and he wanted to include this entire region between Siri and Qutb Delhi. He wanted to include the entire region into Jahanpana, and he also wanted to include, all these various previous capitals, previous cities of Siri and of Tughlaqabad, of Sheher into one fort, so that they all become one. And that is what is Jahanpana. And but as Ibn Battuta tells us, that he wasn't able to complete the project because the cost was extremely high. Okay, thank you. If you have any further questions, please ask. Otherwise, I shall end the session.